Welcome to the Cynical Marketers Podcast, where the greatest minds in marketing, we think, discuss marketing for an audience of several. And now, your hosts, Mike and Nada. All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Cynical Marketers, episode 12. The march continues. Nada, how
More
you
than
doing?
halfway to that magic 20, Mike.
I know, right?
We're getting there. Yeah, we're getting there.
I can't believe we're at 12. It's been fun. I like this.
Yeah, it's been
I
great.
like hearing myself talk anyway, so.
I know this about you.
I know.
Now, so does everyone else. It's all good.
Well, everyone, let's not get crazy. Several
All right.
other people.
Several.
Right. We're growing.
More
Hey,
than
we're getting a
40
few new
days.
listeners here and
Yeah.
there. This is the thing. This is what I tell businesses. Businesses always say, I want to start a podcast. Like, you sure about that? Because like anything in marketing today, social media, anything, it takes time.
It does.
Nothing is going to grow overnight. There are no real such things as overnight successes unless you have VC backing and it's $1 billion and now you can just spend massively on it. You can buy overnight success, but other than that, it's pretty rare. So
It's okay, though.
yeah, no, it's fine.
I mean,
it's part of the process.
You wouldn't know that based on some of the LinkedIn posts we see, which is...
I know. Well, and that is what we're going to talk about in this episode. Nada. I turned Nada on to this subreddit on Reddit. If any of our listeners, I'm sure you're aware of Reddit, but there is a subreddit called LinkedIn Lunatics that I told Nada about a little while ago.
It is. I'm obsessed with the subreddit. And I was never even a Reddit girl. I'm new to Reddit, believe it or not. But this has become my favorite thing. It's such a great... LinkedIn Lunatics is such a great comedic break that I need in my day. I am obsessed with these posts.
It's a funny subreddit. And wouldn't say I love Reddit. I enjoy it. I'm old enough, and from the old blogging days, there's no way that you know what this other site is, but there used to be another site that battled with Reddit, and they were neck and neck with each other, called Dig. Dig.com.
Dig.
I loved Dig. Dig was awesome. It was way better than Reddit. And Dig just had a meltdown at one point. Around 2010 or so, another tech collapse. Gosh, Dig was awesome. But, Reddit's okay. But LinkedIn Lunatics, there is some funny stuff there.
Fantastic. So. Oh, gosh. Yeah. So I have noticed this on LinkedIn, and I think, I've commented on several things. We see a ton of political posts on LinkedIn, which just drive me nuts because I'm like, there is a time and a place. And, do you have to use current events to make everything about business and communication and growth and whatever?
This is what I learned about
But less than that, what I always find fascinating is people who put absurdly personal stories on LinkedIn. I understand you want to be relatable. We're all human, right? And you want to be relatable in your space. But when people go out of their way to put extremely personal stories, I think everybody has seen, and it's been on LinkedIn Lunatics, the one woman who was like, I've accomplished 6 different things and got these certifications and a promotion and made this much money in the last year. And my husband did nothing. And her husband is an army chaplain. It's not. And she's in the corporate world. I'm like, you just told the entire world exactly what you think of your husband, and it's not complimentary. On a LinkedIn
He tried to go back and comment too and explain it, and it didn't do anything.
That was horrifying. And so, but I see those. And then when they get featured, there's obviously a ton of satire on LinkedIn too that we've seen, and you recognize that. But some of this stuff that is actually featured on LinkedIn Lunatics, these people are just genuinely serious about what they share. And you're like, but what, how, why?
Let's show this first guy here.
This is my favorite. I pinged you about this, and I was like, this
guy,
the best thing I've seen.
You love this dude.
Yes, I do. This is hysterical. So for those of you guys that are listening to us on Spotify and can't see the shared image, there's a gentleman who works as a senior director in HR who posted a selfie of himself with 2 different Hooters waitresses and said, tonight was the first time I've been to Hooters. I just wanted to give a shout out to Tori and Sylvia for providing me with the excellent customer service experience while here in Orlando, Florida. Tori and Sylvia are awesome. And then there's just a couple of different hashtags with his certifications and whatnot. But this is the most random thing that you could post on LinkedIn. And then, of course, the comments on this post absolutely killed me. So whoever reposted this on LinkedIn Lunatics, first of all, said going to Hooters but make it LinkedIn. It's just like my favorite.
That's great. You know, you wonder the thinking a lot of times, especially on LinkedIn. Oh gosh, LinkedIn is just a
But the
place
comments
now,
on this
but
one were great. I mean, and you can see on the screen here too, the first comment is like, well, this is the kind of guy I want running my HR
I know.
department.
Some of these comments are pretty funny.
Yeah,
I'm
some of
wondering,
these-
like, Ken here was sitting at LinkedIn and
or
he's
sitting at
like,
Hooters.
or
And
I'm sorry, sitting at Hooters,
yeah,
right? And he's thinking, this would be a great post for
yeah,
LinkedIn. You know,
yeah,
like there was a whole thought process that went into it. Whatever checks are in his brain, it
yep,
passed each check. He's like,
yep,
yes, yes, yes. Post, hit it, submit.
yeah,
Can you imagine these two waitresses? Like, I used to work in a restaurant business.
yeah.
I didn't work at Hooters. Can you imagine these two young women asking this dude asking them for selfies?
Yeah, and somebody said he better have tipped them good for these selfies. Like that
Oh,
was one of the biggest, I think, comments on this post. Was like these poor girls, they're like on LinkedIn right now.
uh,
And it's just, and somebody's, my favorite comment on all this, Mike, was, I think he's going to need to report himself to himself. That
yeah.
was my absolute favorite. Because what is happening in this? Like, why is this a LinkedIn post?
That's a thing. And he made it into LinkedIn Lunatics, and like, oh
Yes.
my gosh, like,
And somebody else.
how does he show up so this blows up? And I don't know how many like people are aware of LinkedIn Lunatics, right? Like, you've worked in marketing forever, and you
Right.
just found it
Right.
recently. I don't know what subset of people are aware of it, so I don't know. Surely wherever Ken is at, he walked into work the next day and somebody said something, didn't they? Like,
And I
hey
don't know
man,
if they can. He's the HR director.
hey man,
And
did
so
you see?
the comments, though, are just gold. Anyone else think that Ken is recently divorced?
Oh my gosh.
Nothing like your HR guy being a creep. And then just, like that somebody said the quotes around shout out are like really icy. Like they're giving away like he might murder them in the parking lot type of a vibe, which, terrible. Just
It is.
terrible.
And that's, gosh, boy, this is the stuff. And I've been doing social media for such a long time now that these are the kind of things I think about. Like,
Yeah.
I've posted stupid stuff on the internet before. So I've been burned and learned a lot of lessons because I'll think of all of those things before you hit post on something where I'm like, I don't know if you wouldn't want to do that. And people are like, is it controversial? Like, look, even if it's close, like, I don't know. You don't want to risk it.
And
Again,
another
my thought for Ken here is like, man, you went through this whole thing thinking this is going to be awesome.
somebody said it's top leaders like this guy that keep LinkedIn such an undeniably valuable tool.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, I love this post so much. I kept laughing at it like for literally for a few days on this one.
It's a good one. Man,
There are
I
just
know
so
there's
many
more. What was the other one you were
There's
talking
so many
about?
great ones. There is another woman who is a recruiter in a company who posted, and she said, I hate working from home in all capital letters, followed by like a bunch of exclamation points. And
Yeah.
then she goes on to say, because she is, she's social, and this is, I guess I can just read this. My main beef with working from home is I'm a social being who loves to collaborate. I get lonely at home on my own. My electricity bill goes up. My kitchen becomes my office. There's no separation. My washing pile looks at me all day. I get office FOMO, especially when someone brings in cake. But I'm in the minority when I say this. A lot of businesses are enforcing return to office mandates, known as RTO, and seeing a higher rate of resistance from the workforce than ever before. Research studies showed 53% of employees would not comply with return to office for 5 days per week and would look for another role, an increase of 9% just from 2 years prior. The data shows those most likely to quit are senior and high performance employees. And so she goes on and says, that's like damaging for the companies and whatnot. So, we've debated the work from home. Has been a debate, right, for several years. And I think like you personally work better in office, whereas I love working from home. But the comments on this woman, first of all, the way that this whole thing was written, it had all these emojis. ChatGPT wrote this,
For sure,
right?
sure.
Like
you recognize it immediately, even without the rocket emojis.
Immediately. And then the comments on her post were just absolutely wild because people were like, so she wants to go back to the office. Like she is the reason none of us want to go back, right? Like she is that employee that will come and talk to you for like 40 minutes in circles. And, she's the one that wants to eat cake at the office. She is the reason none of us want to go back because we want to just do our job and be done.
Now, you know what? Like, this is again, when she's typing this out to post it.
She's a recruiter.
If we're growing our agency and we don't have an office or anything, I would like at some point to have one because I do like that. But you know what I don't do? I'm not going to go on the internet and voice that because I can read the room. I know what the general sentiment is, and I know that my liking an office is very minority. And then also, I wouldn't require, like, it's a personal preference. It's not like if we ever keep growing and, start adding employees, it's not like be a mandate or anything. But man, you wonder. My thing about some of these posts too, with her
comments, though.
I'm sure she is, right?
In the comments. I mean,
but did she want that? I bet she wanted it.
As a recruiter, do you want that? Do you want to be seen like the HR guy? Do you want to be seen as like that annoying coworker that, because you're a recruiter. So then a lot of people went on to say that she basically doesn't understand what working from home is because they were saying like, oh, she only works a couple of hours a day. So she has time. Like she is interviewing a couple candidates and that's all she's doing. Right. So they kind of dragged her in terms of like her actual job title and role. And then they were saying like she's the reason most of us don't want to go back because so many people down in the comments, and they were a little bit serious about this, were saying their biggest pet peeve is getting on a meeting with someone who just spends like 20 minutes gossiping and not getting work done. I think the reason so many people love working from home is so they can just, as my kids say, log in and get stuff done and then not have to worry about it. She got dragged. I felt bad for her, but then I was like, this is a way to also destroy your professional reputation, like quickly,
Yeah, but like, so LinkedIn is a place where you need engagement, right? So people post these kinds of things knowing. You pick a topic like work from home, and then you take the side that everyone hates.
Yeah.
I mean, I look at this sometimes, I am skeptical about some of these folks and their posts too, that make it into LinkedIn Lunatics even.
Right.
Because I've seen plenty of folks on Reddit or on LinkedIn now celebrating when one of their posts gets put in LinkedIn Lunatics, where they'll be like, I made it finally. I'm like,
no.
So now it's kind of a game, I think,
no,
for some
I don't
folks.
want to make it in there. Although my favorite comment on her specifically was somebody posting a GIF from Office Space with the lady that goes, oh, someone's got the case of the Mondays. That was my absolute favorite response because I was like, yeah, she gives those vibes. That's the vibes. And she's the recruiter for the company.
Recruiter?
No.
Recruiters used to be incredibly popular. That used to be one of the job titles on LinkedIn that you were guaranteed mass following. People would always follow the recruiters because like we need to go through them for jobs.
Right.
And it's a tough job. We worked. We don't have them as clients anymore, but we've had clients that were recruiters and known for years, even before, like I grew up with one of them.
Yeah.
Known forever. And they're good guys. Like any industry, there's going to be good people and bad people, but recruiters, though, like now it's not the popular thing and people go at them,
Oh no.
you know? And you see
Yeah.
it like, again, like with LinkedIn Lunatics, I always think it's funny, but I was showing you this post yesterday that was on LinkedIn that for a second I thought I should share that one to LinkedIn
Well,
Lunatics. And then you're looking at it again, and you're like, no, I think that's what he wants.
yeah, maybe.
I think he's going for it. I think he's trying, the parody account,
Yeah.
Ken Chang,
Yes.
right? You've seen him. And he's a stand-up comedian. And I saw him when he first started, I remember. And I remember the first one I saw, I'm like, wow, that's crazy. And then you're like, and then you see the next one and you're like, oh, I get it immediately. The first time you see it, you never know because there's crazy people on LinkedIn, the hustle bros, right? Like one of the things he was saying about it, I can't remember. It was something about getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning or you're not
Right.
worth it, like something like that, right?
Right.
Straight
Right.
up out of hustle bro culture book.
Right.
So the first
Yeah.
time you see it, you're like, okay. Then the second time, you're like, oh, okay, something's up. And then the third time, you're like, nope, parody. But now everyone's trying to copy that because that guy blew up and he got huge and he got so much engagement. So now you see people copying that because
Right.
engagement is what matters the most on LinkedIn.
But I did, and this is wild to me because I do, again, with people who just overshare a crap ton of personal information. There was, the one lady that was like saying how her husband didn't accomplish anything in 2024 was one. But then there was another guy who was saying like, oh, my marriage almost ended. And like just my wife and I were not having a good relationship. And you were like, where are you going with this?
Right.
Like that to me, like those types of posts, I haven't seen those make it to like LinkedIn Lunatics, like, but I always look at these posts on
What was the
LinkedIn
other
and
one
I'm like,
you and I were talking about yesterday? Another one you saw where the guy's saying he's the CEO of his family and
yeah, that was horrifying. He was like, I'm the CEO. And then somebody was like, no, somebody forgot to tell him his wife runs the house,
He called it a startup, right? Because him and his wife are
he called him
somewhat
and his
recently
wife a
married and they just
startup.
started having kids. And
Yeah.
this is the best startup I've ever built. Like,
Yes.
oh my gosh, man.
Yeah. Like not everything needs to be that.
Again, and who's the audience, right? Like,
To me, it's so embarrassing because, and I don't know if this just shows my age and whatnot, but I'm like, you can be relatable. Like my LinkedIn says that I'm a mom because that is a big part of who I am. Right. But it's not, I don't write posts to compare my 11-year-old to people I work with. Like it doesn't translate. And I always look at those and I'm just like, how are you not embarrassed to put this out into your network, to talk about your personal problems or to post pictures of yourself with Hooters waitresses? Like, how do you go into the office the next day or how do you sit in meetings with people the next day and you're like, I'm
the level
that
of stuff
guy.
people will share on social, though, right? Like,
I think that's fine, but
they
I
put
have
out
always been in a
stuff
habit of not adding my coworkers to my social media. So my personal social media, I don't ever have, unless it's somebody that I've then formed a friendship with and remained friends after working someplace. But on my personal social media, I have made it a point not to add.
Yeah,
my
I don't
coworkers.
connect with coworkers.
No, because you don't need to. Do you really want to see my kid, have a band concert and like like, I don't know. It's not.
Back in the
I guess like maybe I'm
early
just
days of social media,
yeah.
I was still in the restaurant business, and the restaurant business, we were wrestling with how to use it and what could we do. And I used to have like a group for my restaurant and would post schedules there for everybody to see too. And it was an easy way. I loved it. HR, of course,
Right.
didn't.
No,
But then
because what if
employees would
somebody
try to add
joins
you and
and
stuff,
like
and you're like,
yeah
why are you trying to add me? Like, I
yeah
don't want to connect with you on social. It's not that I don't like you or anything, but like, you want to have a life away from your job,
right
like,
right
because then you get people who are like, well, did you see what so-and-so said? Like, you have to talk to them when they come in. Like,
right.
why?
And it's
Yeah,
interesting to
they're
me
pissed
because
about their job. Everyone's mad about their jobs. They have a right to be mad. I'm not talking to them about it. They said it away from work. It has nothing to
right
do.
right. But
It's their
that has
American
changed
right to
though.
bitch about your employment.
But that
You
has
know?
changed though because I think we've seen in the recent years, and this is an entirely different topic, right? But we've seen in the recent years where people will go on their own personal social media and say something wildly like racist or sexist or, misogynistic or whatever, and then, or will harass other people out in public. And then the internet will internet and they will find their employer and they will ultimately get let go and things like that, right? So like when this is the culture and you're willingly, like you're an HR director who's posting pictures of himself with Hooters waitresses, you kind of got to go like, bro, what are you doing?
That's the thing is like,
it's wild. Like LinkedIn has become a wild place. Yeah.
That's what I look at for some posts from folks is like, what was your thought process here?
There had to have
for
been
people posting on LinkedIn, for businesses posting on social media, sometimes when you see missteps, and sometimes you see missteps and businesses or people get flamed, and you see it and you're like, get it. Hey, you took a shot at something. I understand what you were trying to do.
Right.
Sometimes things are going to work and sometimes they don't.
No, I don't want to end up on the LinkedIn lunatics though.
No.
Like I know some people, like you said, I think some people do strive for that. I would like to avoid that at all costs. I just think LinkedIn has become like such a wild place. And there's a time and space for everything, and LinkedIn isn't a place you post about your marriage or Hooters waitresses.
I know I've seen you comment, and there's a battle in LinkedIn right now of everyone saying LinkedIn's just turning into Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's plenty of people who are like, well, what's wrong with that? This is where I work and this is the social media channel I spend my time on and I'm focused on. Like, why can't I talk about my life? And you're like,
I mean, you can, but understand that's not always. Is that really like, do I want to know about your failed marriage as like the first introduction to who you are in your professional space?
Well, you got two good looking kids there. That's great.
Right.
I was looking for a SaaS tool.
Right.
I mean,
yeah,
this is great.
Yeah.
But is the product you're selling actually do what it says though? Like, hey, more power to your kids. I'm glad Timmy won the big baseball game.
Yep. I don't know though. This is the LinkedIn Lunatics. So you guys, if you are on Reddit and not following LinkedIn Lunatics, I do recommend.
Be careful with Reddit, everybody.
Yeah, though, like you will end up getting notifications and spend a stupid amount of time there, but
people talk about Twitter or X and they're like how toxic it is. I'm like, oh, you've never been on Reddit. I see. Reddit's the most toxic website of all.
It's also, I don't know, it's glorious. I'm here for
There's
it.
good. You have to find the gems though, but you won't. There are gems there, but
right.
It's crazy. Yeah. So, all right. LinkedIn Lunatics, everybody, go check that out. We'll wrap this one up. Another fine episode. Thank you for tuning in. Catch us on YouTube, and we're on Spotify. You can find us on TikTok too. Cynical Marketers.
Instagram. Hey, and LinkedIn.
Oh, and Instagram. And LinkedIn.
And LinkedIn.
We don't post anything that's ever going to get us in trouble.
No. But if we ever do post pictures of Mike with Hooters waitresses, I'll make sure to let you all know here on the podcast.
I will. I can't say that I've never been to Hooters because I kind of remember once.
I've been to Hooters, but taking pictures with waitresses and putting them on LinkedIn would be a new experience.
No, never. Taking pictures.
Taking pictures with Hooters waitresses.
Like I said, I worked in the restaurant business, so I know. Being a server, and I was a server for a lot of years after the Army. When I was in college, my wife and I waited tables and bartended. After the Army, going to school, my wife and I supported family with waiting tables and bartending and stuff. So I know I wouldn't call it like you're being a stripper, right? Where strippers act like they love you, but that you're on stage when you are a server, especially like the female servers, like, they can make good tips, but they're
right.
Hey, she doesn't actually like you. She's doing her job.
No, those
She's
girls
just
did not want to take those
service.
pictures. No, they did not want to take those pictures.
Yeah.
And the thing is, to me, it's always bizarre. And the ladies were lovely in those photos. Like they're really great.
Of course, they were nice.
And I'm a girl's girl, so I hope that they got tipped really, really well to take pictures with Ken, because Ken derailed that entire interaction.
Yeah, they were doing their job.
They were doing their job, and they were doing their job well, and they're very lovely ladies. But I bet they didn't think they'd be ending up on LinkedIn. Strange.
I'm sure maybe he meant well, right? Like he thought he was doing a good thing to give a shout out for good
I
customer
think he
service,
was
but-
just really excited to have gone to Hooters because this
You
was
know, the
his
best
first
way to
time
do
at
it, if you
Hooters.
want to give a shout out to a server or bartender or service worker for
Right.
excellent customer service, is to actually email
Tip
the
them.
company and
Tip
thank
them well.
Don't do this thing on social media where it's performative for you to also get the
Right.
kudos. If you have kudos for employees, first of all, tip them because
Right.
money,
Tip them well.
you know,
Yep.
like I
am.
can't pay bills with your compliments.
True story.
My landlord does not take compliments as a form of payment.
No, that'd be
but
nice if they did, though.
I know.
All right. LinkedIn Lunatics,
all right,
guys,
everybody.
check them out.
We'll see you next time. Thank you, everyone.
Next episode.